As a beginner in the gym, there's a lot of mistakes to be made. I have personally made almost every single one of them. If I wasn't highly motivated to see success and find a way to work around these obstacles, I wouldn't have seen the progress that I saw. In this video, I'm going to cover over the 3 most common and detrimental mistakes that you're likely to make. If you can avoid these, you're going to be guaranteed to see success faster and avoid being set back. So the biggest misconception is that with beginners is that you should do the most weight possible. Now, yes, when you're very, very new, you can progress very fast, and you should, right? Because your body's adapting. But once you get to a point where it's actually starting to get hard, a lot of beginners make the mistake of immediately jumping to the most amount of weight that they can do, because maybe it gets into their head, that, you have to push yourself as hard as you can. And that's very true, but pushing yourself as hard as you can does not equal doing the most weight that you can do. They're not the same thing. You want to do all the work, you want to do all of the reps, but you don't want to, jump to the highest weight you can possibly do immediately. The reason you don't want to do that is because there's this thing called the wall. Advanced people who lifted for a while kind of know this. It's like once you hit that wall, you're not really going to be able to make progress beyond that. And so what happens when you focus only on the weight is that you tunnel vision on the most amount of weight that you can do today. You're like, oh my God. And a lot of people, they can't get it out of their head that, it's okay to lower the weight. You don't have to do your max every single day. So the issue with doing the most amount of weight you can possibly do is that you hit that wall, and so once you do, you're no longer able to make any progress, right? You're doing the max you can, and the demand that you're putting on your body is just too much. There's no way you're going to make any progress. And so what happens is you just become stuck, you backslide, you get injured. I want you to rethink of how success in the gym is, especially as a beginner. You want to focus on the progress. Focus on the progress instead of focusing on the weight. So think about it like this. Instead of how much weight can I do, think about how much progress can I make. That's how you really see success in the gym. Trust me, I know it sounds counterintuitive. Oh, you're doing less weight, so how is that successful? If you stick with the progress, you're going to do more weight in the end. In the long run, you're always going to win. Even if you can start with the empty bar. You're going to win, man. Stick with the progress. Don't ego lift, don't get into your head that you always have to do the most amount of weight that you can possibly do every single day. It's not going to be good for you. The second thing is you want to have a balanced workout. Now, some people take this to a really bad extreme, and some others maybe not so much, but basically everyone has, body parts they prefer to work out, certain exercises they really, really like, and, other exercises they maybe don't like. You definitely don't want to be the guy who, only works upper body, who only does bench press, and, doesn't do legs, doesn't do like back or anything else. You don't want to be that guy. I think most of us know that. But also you still want to make sure that, you are taking each day seriously. Like, I understand it's okay to, have your favorite movement, have your favorite exercises. Like, for example, for me, I really like the bench press, and I liked some of the rowing movements as well, because you get like that really nice pump and it looks cool. So those are my favorites. But you want to do all of the exercises, even the exercises that don't entail your favorite exercise, especially the ones that counter them out. So for example, if you really like the bench press, you need to make sure that you're doing, your rows, your cable rows, your barbell rows, those back movements that counter the pressing motion. Otherwise, your body's going to become extremely unbalanced. All right, so basically, you want to have a balanced workout routine. So you don't want to be the guy who goes to the gym and like only does like, chest, only does bench press, and, doesn't do, their back and their legs. You don't want to be that guy. What happens is when you start doing that, you create a bottleneck. So let's say like your progress is like this, like you can do this much progress, like this is the flow of your progress. If once you start to only do one body part, one muscle group, what happens is like the progress is limited to this. So you're only making this much progress. So it's much better, even if you're doing less sets, even if you're doing less volume, even if you're doing less intensity of chest. Let's say you're doing chest only and your progress is only like this. If you balance your workout, your chest gains and everything else will also go forward together, and it's just much better that way. I understand we all have, our favorite exercises, our favorite muscle groups. I did too. I love the bench press. I love to see my biceps bulging, and that's okay. But you need to make sure that you're taking all the days seriously. With my clients, one of the biggest things I notice is that when they miss a day, it's just it always just so happens to coincidentally be leg day. Or if they're on a full body routine, it's like the day that they happen to miss is just always happens to be the day they have to do squats. You know, yes, they bring up a valid excuse. I go over this time and time again. Everyone always has a valid excuse to skip the gym. Your brain's going to trick you into doing that. You want to take the gym seriously, all rounded. Every day, think about it. Let's say let look at your progress in the gym. Okay, let's say in the last month, how many days have you missed, and how many of those days were the days that you know, the workout that you didn't want to do, right? So you want to take, legs seriously. You want to take your back seriously. You can't just do chest and arms, for example. You have to have a balanced routine. Not only is that going to make you actually make significant progress and keep you well balanced out, it's going to keep you mentally where you need to be in the gym in order to actually make the gains. The gym has to be a priority. You can't make excuses. All right, the last one, and probably I would say, and this one might be like the biggest, most straightforward one that I can give to you. One of the biggest mistakes that most people make is not bulking. Once you've made those novice gains, once you got past like that noob phase where you kind of just get gains from like barely doing anything and just showing up. Okay, now you've built some, you've done some resistance training. You've built like the base muscle mass, some novice gains. However, in order to actually like push past that, you have to actually, either commit to a bulk or a cut. For most of you, you should committing to a bulk. Like, unless you're like really fat, that in that case, do a cut, do some strength training. But for most people, you should do a bulk first. That's how you're actually going to be able to build lots of muscle mass and lots of strength. I understand being afraid to commit to a bulk and, being afraid of putting on weight. I was like that too. But it would have been much better if I just did it at the start instead of like kind of trying to put on muscle mass, but also not trying to put on, more body weight. And it was just like this weird thing where it's like, I didn't make too much progress and I was training really hard and I really regret it because like I could have made so much more progress. And looking back on it, like, when I did actually commit to the bulk, I didn't even put on that much fat. If you want to make a serious change and you want to add like, significant amounts of muscle and strength to your body, you got to commit to the bulk. There's a lot of people who, have been going to the gym for years, but since they've never done that, they don't make, too much progress. If you do a bulk, if you actually commit to the bulk in the gym, you're going to be, in 1 year, you're going to make more progress than they made in several years. It sounds like an exaggeration. It's not. If you commit to the bulk, you will see massive amounts of muscle growth versus people who don't commit to the bulk. So it's something that's very important, something that you should try and do if you actually take the gym seriously. Yes, I know, the gym, a lot of people just go for their mental health and, just for a good workout. And, that's fine. And if that's your goal, then that's fine too. But if you want to make, also physical changes, but if you want to make, more than just marginal physical changes to your body, if you actually want to like gain significant amounts of muscle mass, if you actually want to like become jacked or like, make a significant change to your body, or, it doesn't have to be bulk. Let's say you're fat and you want to lose weight. Either way, you have to commit to the bulk or you have to commit to the cut. If you don't, the physical changes won't be too much beyond a certain point. It's more so you're just going because it's a good habit, it's exercise, and, it's good for your mental health. So, if that's the case for you, that's fine. But if you want to make significant physical change, you got to commit to the bulk or you got to commit to the cut. You got to do one or the other once you're beyond the noob gains. Anyways, guys, that's going to be the end of this video. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Be sure to check out my website in the link below if you want more content just like this. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Like the video if you did. I'll see you in the next one.